In 2007, BlackBerry wasn't just a phone company, it was the phone company. With a market cap of over $80 billion, BlackBerry completely dominated the smartphone world. Presidents, CEOs, celebrities, everyone who was anyone had a BlackBerry glued to their hand. They even called it Crackberry because people were so addicted. Just 7 years later, that company was worth less than $3 billion. The phones that once symbolized power and success became punchlines. Today, BlackBerry doesn't even make phones anymore. This isn't just a story about a company that failed to adapt. It's about a company that saw the future coming, laughed at it, and then got absolutely destroyed. This is the complete story of BlackBerry's fall from grace and the $80 billion mistake that changed the tech industry forever. Let's go back to 2006, when BlackBerry was untouchable. Research in Motion, or RIM, the company behind it, had created something revolutionary. Before BlackBerry, email on the go was basically impossible. Our IM figured out how to push email directly to a mobile device in real time. This sounds simple now, but in the late 90s, this was magic. It had a full QWERTY keyboard you could type on incredibly fast. It had BlackBerry Messenger, or BBM, which let you message other BlackBerry users for free with read receipts. This was before a message, before WhatsApp, before any of that existed. But the real genius was the business model. BlackBerry didn't just sell phones to consumers, they locked down the corporate market. Companies loved BlackBerry because it was secure and professional. Banks, law firms, governments, they all standardized on it. By 2009, they'd hit 50 million subscribers. The company's stock price had skyrocketed. And then, on January 9, 2007, everything changed. Steve Jobs walks onto a stage and says, "Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone." He pulls out the first iPhone. No keyboard, just a big touch screen. It had a real web browser. It looked like something from the future. BlackBerry's response? They laughed. Mike Lazaridis, BlackBerry's co-CEO, reportedly said the iPhone would never succeed because the battery life would be terrible. They thought Apple was just making a toy for consumers, not a serious business device, and in a way, they were right at first. The original iPhone wasn't great for business. It didn't have copy and paste or work with corporate email. But here is what BlackBerry completely missed. Apple wasn't trying to beat BlackBerry at its own game. They were changing the game entirely. BlackBerry thought they were in the email business. Apple understood they were in the computing business. The iPhone wasn't just a phone, it was a pocket computer. And the move that sealed BlackBerry's fate came a year later when Apple launched the App Store. Suddenly, your phone could be anything. A game console, a GPSA music studio. Developers created thousands of apps, and the iPhone became indispensable in ways BlackBerry never imagined. BlackBerry's response was too little, too late. They launched the BlackBerry Storm in 2008 as their iPhone competitor. It was a disaster. The screen had this weird clicking mechanism nobody wanted, and the software was slow and buggy. Meanwhile, Google entered the game with Android, and suddenly, BlackBerry was falling behind. By 2010, the cracks were showing. Instead of focusing on one great product, they released dozens of mediocre ones. There were BlackBerrys with keyboards, with touch screens, with both. The product line became a mess. They finally launched a real competitor, BlackBerry 10, in 2013, and it was actually pretty good. The gesture navigation was innovative, but it was 5 years too late. The world had moved on to the two-horse race between iPhone and Android. Developers weren't making apps for BlackBerry. Even their corporate customers were letting employees use iPhones. The numbers tell the brutal story. From a peak of 80 million subscribers in 2012, they collapsed to just 23 million by 2016. The company that once had 50% of the US market fell to less than 1%. So what really killed BlackBerry? It wasn't just one thing. First, corporate arrogance. They were dismissive. They truly believed physical keyboards were essential and that their business customers would never leave. Second, they had divided leadership. The two co-CEOs often disagreed on strategy at the exact moment they needed a clear vision. Third, they misunderstood their own advantage. They thought it was security, but it was really the keyboard and BBM. When they tried to compete on touchscreens and apps, they were on enemy territory. Fourth, they completely underestimated the app ecosystem. Apple and Google understood phones were platforms. By the time BlackBerry realized apps mattered, it was too late. And finally, the killer blow, the shift to consumer-driven IT. For decades, companies told employees what phone to use, but the iPhone was so good that employees started demanding it. This destroyed BlackBerry's entire business model. By 2013, BlackBerry was in a full-blown crisis. They put themselves up for sale, but nobody wanted to buy them. Massive layoffs followed. They brought in a new CEO, John Chen, who made the tough call. BlackBerry would stop making phones. They become a software company focused on security. By 2016, they licensed the BlackBerry name to other manufacturers, and by 2022, even those deals were over. The phone business that made BlackBerry a household name was completely dead. It's easy to mock BlackBerry now, but we should remember what they achieved. They pioneered secure mobile email and the first truly addictive messaging platform. That physical keyboard was genuinely great. And they were right that businesses needed secure devices. Apple and Google ended up building features that BlackBerry pioneered. The failure of BlackBerry teaches us some crucial lessons. Your greatest strengths can become your weaknesses. Customers, not companies, decide what the future looks like. An ecosystem of apps is more powerful than a single product, and corporate culture can determine your destiny. BlackBerry's arrogance and inability to adapt killed them just as much as any competitor. It's fascinating to think what could have happened. What if they had taken the iPhone seriously in 2007? What if they put BBM on other phones and competed with WhatsApp? The transitions are possible, but they require courage and a willingness to abandon what made you successful in the first place. BlackBerry had its chances. They chose to protect their existing business instead of creating the future. That was their $80 billion mistake. The iPhone didn't kill BlackBerry. BlackBerry killed BlackBerry by refusing to believe the world was changing. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like and subscribe for more stories about the rise and fall of tech giants. And let me know in the comments, did you ever own a BlackBerry? What do you miss most about it?